Welcome to this episode of the live stream of the Freedom Series podcast. Today, I'm pretty happy to announce we've got Justin Donald here. Entrepreneur Magazine calls Justin Donald the Warren Buffett of lifestyle investing. He's a master at low-risk cash flow investing, specializing in simplifying complex financial strategies, structuring deals, and disciplined investment systems that consistently produce profitable results. His ethos is to create wealth without creating a job. I think this ties in beautifully to the last episode we just had with George McCoskey as well around property investing. In the span of 21 months before his 40th birthday, Justin's investments drove enough passive income for both him and his wife, Jennifer, to leave their jobs. Following his simple investment values and the 10 commandments of lifestyle investing, Justin negotiated deals with over 50 companies, multiplied his net worth to over 8 figures, and maintained a family-centric lifestyle in less than 2 years. Just 2 years later, you doubled your net worth again. Dude, welcome to the show. Boom.
Thanks, Barry. Nice to be here.
So
really
grateful.
Good to get some time with you and your audience and your fans.
Yeah, mate, I think it's going to be hot. We've had some of your fellow friends on too of recent times. You're calling in from Austin, Texas?
Correct. Yeah. One of the best cities in the world. So
such a thriving entrepreneurial community over there.
Yeah. I mean, it really is an entrepreneur mecca. For whatever reason, you're just attracting all these, just business minds. And you also have a lot of big names that just keep moving here, like Joe Rogan and, just a slew of other people. So it's pretty cool.
What do you think it is, though? Like, what do you think is it about Austin that draws people there?
Well, I think that there's just this environment, this feel, you're really accepted no matter who you are. So it's very kind of low key. You don't experience the snobby feeling that you experience in a lot of other cities. So you just show up as who you are. You're not judged, you're accepted. And then you have a lot of perks in living here with no state income tax, with great weather. For 10 of 12 months, and a killer food scene, a killer music scene. And you just have all this tech that's coming in here as well. So besides it being a booming entrepreneurial mecca, you've got kind of the next, round. A lot of people consider it the next, Silicon Valley in terms of tech as well.
Yeah. Wow. Love it. You've sold me. I've never been. Do love the States, but I'm super keen to go once flights open back up. I've just had some of my best mates too move there recently as well from California. So, mate, let's talk lifestyle investing. And it's interesting. We've been getting a lot of questions the last couple of weeks since we launched the Freedom Series, because I guess there's a lot of uncertainty in the marketplace right now. They're talking that we're at the start of a huge global financial crisis that I think was coming anyway. The COVID just kind of pushed things along a little bit. You've made a name for yourself as the Warren Buffett of lifestyle investing. Like talk me through that. Like, what is lifestyle investing?
Yeah, sure. So I think you're right on just some of the, what's going on in the financial world, that this was bound to happen, and maybe it's a little more accelerated now. But my whole idea is I don't want to be stuck doing something that I don't want to do. I wanted to create the lifestyle that I desired to have, that my family desired to have. And I just wanted to get beyond the past of trading time for money. So that was the big thing. How do I transition from my time producing the income that gets me by and maintains my lifestyle to having assets that produce income? And that can happen while I'm sleeping. It can happen while I'm hanging out with my family. It can happen when I'm on vacation. That's really what I wanted. I'm okay if my time produces income, if it's something that I want to do, if it's something I'm passionate about. I'll even go so far as to say, if I feel like financially I'm being, the value I'm providing is being reciprocated fairly, in terms of what I would earn. But I wanted that to be a choice. I wanted it to be that I get to do it, not that I have to do it. Yeah. And it's amazing what changes. It's amazing the way that I've been able to show up and the ideas that I've had and kind of the different direction that my life's taken since having that freedom. It's liberating, but beyond the liberation, moreover than anything, it's just this new purpose that I can get to do what I want to do. I can choose the path that I want to take. I mean, it really is true ultimate freedom.
Yeah. It's so interesting. I talk a lot in my new book around that aspect of liberation, and the really interesting thing is when I started writing, it was in January. I exited my business in December, moved to Bali, started writing the book, and what I wanted to express is around how business owners can create a business that's profitable, purpose driven, and can work without them. And it was funny writing it, looking back now and touching on what you've said, going through the journey. It was like, at some point in my life, I become financially free. And then the next part was like, I become time free. And over that last kind of 6 months, I experienced a sense of liberation being exited from the business in a way that I was so free to create and innovate, having my team drive things and grow things and being there. Like I've never experienced anything like it before in my life. But the liberation didn't actually come until 6 weeks ago when I tried to fly back to Bali, place that I call home. And I got locked in immigration for 4 nights because the visa that I had was not right. We later found out it was fraudulent and they wanted to lock me up in jail. And the interesting thing is that while I was in this experience, I've never felt so much peace and calm in my life. And it was peace and calm in a few things. One, knowing that I didn't need to work. I didn't need to be in my business, that was still going on. People were still, clients were still getting served and so forth. But it was almost a sense of liberation that it was like, regardless of that situation, that wasn't going to define me. That was one notch in the journey of my life, but that wasn't the everything. And I think, coming back to what you say, like people have a lot of negative connotations around wealth. And we'll just touch you on like an hour ago in the last episode with George is that like wealth provides the option to make a massive impact in people's lives. Like, where did this kind of drive and desire start for you? Like you've mentioned before, like obviously not, the way that you grew up and so forth, but I guess like, how did you find yourself into this niche, into this place you're in right now?
Yeah. And to pile on what you said, wealth really provides optionality. That's it. So I just really, for me, I wanted to get to a place. I'd read a bunch of books, in my younger years, let's say, right after college, that were really influential. One of them being the Rich Dad, Poor Dad series and cash flow quadrants, where Kiyosaki just talks about how do you transition from being, an employee to self-employed to a business owner to an investor. And the biggest perks that come from a tax standpoint are on the business investor side. And then the biggest perks that come from a time standpoint are on that side. And the evolution of that shift, over to me, it just really looked like investor was the place to be. And at the time I was, really starting a new business, and I confused the concept of self-employed and business owner, because I was like, oh yeah, I'm a business owner. But the reality, I wasn't. I was a slave to the business that I had created. I just didn't realize it. I didn't realize that I was, a sole proprietor on steroids, that, I made a good income, but at the same time, I was really handcuffed not only to the income that I made due to the lifestyle that I built, but also the business wouldn't function without me. If you remove me from the business, it's not a business. And so that was really like this aha moment of, hey, I've got to get to a point where I have a business that functions without me. It needs to just, it's like what Robert Kiyosaki says, like if you can remove yourself for a year and it maintains or grows, then you've got a business.
That's right.
Otherwise, you're a glorified, you got a sole proprietor.
Yeah. And it's super high risk too, because something happens and you've got employees, you've got their families relying on you for a paycheck. And it's like you've got a job and you're struggling to feed yourself in that respect. And this is why, like, I talk about in the book as well. It's like, it's not a matter of getting business to where it can work without you so you don't work. Like the dream of sitting on the beach drinking margaritas, it's like you get bored pretty quickly, especially if you're a typical A-type personality entrepreneur. Right? Totally. It's around the fact that until you get there, you've got a glorified job. You haven't got choice, super high risk. And equally too, like, I don't know about you, but the last 6 months being in the position I was in gave me a lot of free time to be able to go and help others that weren't in the same fortunate position.
Yeah, without a doubt. So, and that's been fun because I've been able to transition from basically what I've done in my life, over investing the last 15 to 20 years to teaching other people how to invest. And that's been really fun. And like you said, you'd started writing your book in January. I also started writing my book in January, maybe the last week of December, but I mean, most of it was really in the month of January.
Yeah.
And it's really empowering to be in a place where you've achieved something really cool, but you get greater satisfaction from helping other people achieve that same thing, because you know how good it feels, and you know what it can do for them and for their family, and for these people that have kids, for parents that have kids. It's like the time that you can give back to the family, and putting your time and energy where it matters most.
Yeah, absolutely. So talk me through it then. Like what I kind of asked a similar question, but lifestyle investing, like how does someone get started? Is it for business owners? Is it for average Joe? Like who's it for, and how does it work? Talk us through the process.
Yeah, well, I mean, so my book is going to be for everyone. And so basically the title of that, it's The Lifestyle Investor, and it's the 10 Commandments of Cash Flow Investing for Passive Income and Financial Freedom. And so that really is going to appeal to, thank you. It's going to appeal to the masses. And that's my way to introduce some of these concepts. And really, it's a criteria. It's my 10 criteria of what it takes for me to invest in something. If it matches all 10, then it's pretty much a no-brainer for me. And if it, misses some, I need to be a little more critical. But I wanted to get something out that anyone could read, that anyone could have, that anyone could use as a guide when they learn to invest. Because most people, they don't know how to invest. They, maybe they invest in their 401k. Maybe they don't even do that. So it's tied to the stock market. You have other people that, maybe feel like they're sophisticated, and so they're angel investing, which to me is like a 0% interest loan into a high risk investment that you don't even know if it's going to work out, and you don't know the time frame that it's going to work out. So it's I don't dislike that style of investing. I just don't know that it should come immediately as a lot of people do. So I really just want to teach people here's how you can invest and not lose money and make a good return. So, that's really exciting to me. And then I'm going to be launching my podcast at the end of the month, which is also called The Lifestyle Investor. And I would imagine it's going to attract more people that are more committed to, investing and actually taking action on some of the things from the book. And I've got a lineup of some really awesome, investors that I'm friends with, and a slew of people that I'll get in touch with that I just think are going to, they're kind of movers and shakers and thought leaders. And so I'm excited to expose my network, my audience to those individuals.
Yeah, amazing. So good. I just want to say welcome. Like if you're joining live from anywhere in the world right now, welcome to the chat. My team's across the different comment sections. So please put your questions in while I'm having this conversation with Justin. We'll get them answered for you. And also hit the like button. Let us know that you're watching. Tag someone in who you think needs to know more about lifestyle investing. What are some examples of some investments, just out of curiosity? Like I know we're not giving financial advice here, and there's obviously a methodology you go through to qualify them being the right investment to make. But what are some of the examples of the investments we're talking about here?
Yeah, so there's a slew of them. One of the things that I think is really important to me is not only finding passive income, but then diversifying that passive income just in case something's to happen. Yeah. I'm going to do my best and do due diligence to make sure that I'm making the best investment possible. But what if you have a COVID-19 that shows up and really disrupts your business, something that you could have never predicted? It's nice to have the extra stream. So to me, it's not just loading up in one area. It's getting comfortable. It's getting your expenses covered. So if anything happens with your job, or you're unable to work, or you just choose you don't want to, you're at least covering your expenses. So there are a lot of different ways you can do it, a lot of different investments you can do it. A lot of people like real estate. I'm a big fan of real estate. I've done a lot in I've invested in most asset classes in real estate at some point in time, but not all real estate is made equal, and not all deals are made equal. And so there is, some due diligence that needs to go into that. But I like rental units. I've had a lot of success in mobile home park investing, in multifamily for like apartments, in storage. Those are probably my favorites. In industrial distribution centers and warehouses, those are probably my 4 favorite in the real estate category. But I think franchises can be great. I have some experience there. Orange Theory Fitness is something I'm a big fan of, and I'm an investor in that with a couple of business partners that handle the operations. I think that there are some other really unique investments out there right now. Like just yesterday, I'm part of a group that closed a deal with Pier 1, buying them out of bankruptcy. And we're going to scale them online just like we did with Dress Barn. And so there's just that, to me, is kind of like this frontier investment opportunity that, is not even an asset class that at some point could be. And I think it could be massive. So it's just paying attention to what's going on and where the biggest opportunities are, but then structuring the deal in a way that you're not going to lose money, or the likelihood of losing money is so slim, or it's just that maybe you'd lose a little bit, but not everything, but your upside is just so much greater. That asymmetric risk reward type of return. You're not likely to lose money, but if this does work out, it's going to make a lot of money.
Yeah. And look, based on your bio and obviously, knowing what you do, it sounds like your model is proven, because it wasn't just, like the longer amount of time was getting you and your wife financially free to leave your jobs. But then where you went from that, which was, it seemed to be taking the most amount of time, to then investing in 50 odd different companies, scaling to 8 figures, that happened in a relatively short period of time. And then you didn't just achieve that, you then backed it up again 2 years afterwards. What were some of the investments you started to move into in that period where you went from, 7 to 8 figures?
So really, that first wave for me was in mobile home park investing. And I had some other ones as well, but that really was the big opportunity, because I was able to find deals that were undervalued, that cash flowed day one, and then that cash flow would spit off enough money for me to invest in the next one, or borrow against it. Or get some sort of basically these banks, you can structure these deals where, because you bought it so far under value and it's appraised to X, you can pull more money out of it and then use that to invest in other assets. So that was really kind of like step one. I mean, when I first started investing, it was more in the stock market, and this was more in my younger years. And I'm not super sophisticated in that. I know enough to be able to make some money, but I also realized really fast it's hard to predict, and you got to be a lot more knowledgeable and have a lot more expertise. And so I just feel like real estate, there's a lot more, let's call it margin of safety, or you can mess a lot more stuff up and still come out okay in having like a physical, hard asset. But, with my clients, so I've got a bunch of clients that do my private coaching, and some of what they like the most, actually, so they like that whole philosophy, but some of the things that they've enjoyed are really just the structuring of deals. So you could take a deal that is not good in itself, and if you structure it well, you can protect your money, and you can protect that principal investment. And so they like that, and they like kind of the creativity on some of the deals that I have. And that private investor coaching program is really just, it's not for everyone. It's really just kind of for right fit people that, maybe they are an entrepreneur with a big exit and don't know what the next steps are, or maybe they're a high income earning entrepreneur, but because their business is booming, they don't have time to look into it. And they want to be able to replace the income that supports their lifestyle. So that's kind of who works with me there. But it's more trying to figure out what is best for that person. What do they need? And to me, the strategy is always the same. Cover your expenses so that you can live life however you want to. So that's step one. Step two is cover your lifestyle expense. So the first one's like cover at least your ability to live. The second one's cover your current lifestyle. And then the third one's cover the lifestyle that you'd like to have.
Yeah, I love that.
And hopefully that lifestyle that you like to have is giving back to others, that there are charities that are part of that, that are important, that you're building something that can benefit other people. And it's not just about you and what you can compile in terms of wealth. To me, wealth is really spreading it to other people. It's teaching other people. It's impacting and influencing other people, groups, with time and with capital.
Yeah, God, I love that. And I couldn't agree more. I'll never forget one of my very first personal development seminars, like 18 years ago, was Robert Kiyosaki. And he was talking about the concept of becoming an investor. And it seemed so esoteric at the time because it was like free money, right? And there was naturally that part of me in the audience that was skeptical around, like, he's selling this program, he's teaching people how to do it. And it's like, oh yeah, but he's just making money off this. And, you can't get success that way, or I can't afford it, whatever else. It's like, looking back now, I see how stupid I was in many ways, because since then I've invested hundreds of thousands, close to maybe $1 million in personal development books, audios, coaches, mentors, programs, and had my time again, I'd spend double that, without a question, because every single time I've learned at least one thing. And as I was speaking about on the earlier live stream with George McCoskey, is it's like the first investment you should make is in you, the very first investment, because you have that for the rest of your life. And looking back now, it wasn't some esoteric pie in the sky thing. He's done it, you're doing it, there's so many other people doing it. The gap between there and now for me was a knowledge point and a willingness to learn and to dive in and understand, not the fact that it wasn't possible or wasn't achievable. We have a couple of questions here. I just want to say welcome to anyone joining us on the live stream from around the world right now. Put your questions below and we'll make sure we get them answered. Patrick from Brisbane. Hey, Justin, of course, I'll still do my due diligence, but do you recommend investing in an S&P 500 index?
Yeah, I think S&Ps, well, first of all, I like indexes in general because they're the cheapest.
Yeah.
And so this is not advice to others. This is advice to me. I'm a big fan of indexes because it's the cheapest way to participate in the stock market. I like the S&P 500 because you're basically banking on the biggest companies. And so that's something that I have done actively in my life. I also think that the stock market right now is a little unpredictable. So if I'm looking for short-term gains and wins, it's probably not there. But if I'm looking for more of a long-term play where I'm banking on the U.S. Economy and U.S. businesses, then I think that that's awesome. And people are like, hey, what's too much? Whatever gets you looking at it every single day, that's probably too much. So I don't know what that number is, but whenever you become obsessed with needing to know, what did I earn today, or what did I lose, or what, that might be a little bit much, because if you're doing the long-term thing, you really should just set it and forget it. And really, you don't want to emotionally make decisions for something like that.
Yeah. Yeah. And we were sharing that earlier. Like, I think for me, I was way too emotional around money when I was younger, and I was always able to earn it, but never able to keep it. And for me, the strategy at work was just to simplify the shit out of it, create automation where, I paid myself a set amount. I put a set amount in the expenses account to pay my overheads. I put a set amount in my investment account, and I just focused on serving people and focused on building my business, and just let the money in the world do the thing on the side. Whereas I look earlier, it's like, I was like so driven to like make money and invest that I just made so many stupid decisions and lost a ton of money because I had no freaking idea what I was doing.
Yep. So true. And just one other point, with the stock market, you're going to have taxes you have to pay if you're making money. So one of the things I like about real estate is you can depreciate your asset. And so you don't necessarily pay taxes on the money that you make. There are definitely loopholes where you can make money that you depreciate from. And so it looks like you don't make any money. And then at whatever point you sell it, you can do a 1031 exchange into another property, or a like kind exchange. And I know they have this in the US. They have something similar in Australia. And so you can defer the taxes that you pay, and you can even defer them indefinitely. So there are definitely perks and reasons to look into some other strategies. So I don't think that's a bad strategy. I just think that having exposure to other things besides just the stock market is good. Yeah. And to me personally, I'd like to have passive income that covers my expenses before I'm really subjecting my finances to the whims of the stock market, unless, again, it is a truly long-term play.
Yeah, absolutely. Question from Greg here. When it comes to real estate or property, what are the top 3 non-US countries would you invest in given the opportunity?
Ooh, that's tough. What I would say is, so what I look for, and I'm not going to do this question enough justice. I'm gonna answer some of it without giving a direct answer, just because I don't feel like I'm qualified enough to answer that. I may leave something out that I don't know about. But what I would say is, I would look for a government that is not corrupt, that can't just come in and take your property. And so there are a lot of places like that. I would look for an area that has a booming influx of people coming in. I think that is really important. I would look for a place that's very tax friendly. I think that's nice. So, I mean, there are a lot of places, and I would also look for a place where you're below maybe the market. So maybe, if you're investing in, let's say, a big city like London, you're going to pay more money than if you're in the outskirts or in the suburbs, or if you're in a neighboring big town or big city. And I'm, I think that there are a ton of great places that you can invest all over the world. I have looked actually into some real estate in the major cities in Australia. I actually looked into a franchise opportunity there. And so I'm familiar to a certain degree, but that to me is more important than maybe the country you're investing in. Is just that, again, you don't want to lose money.
Yeah.
It's Warren Buffett's number one rule is don't lose money.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I think it's more around the opportunities to say no to than the ones you say yes to.
Right.
Yeah. So how would someone get started, I guess, is a question. Like I kind of feel that business is a vehicle for generating cash, outside of many amazing things, obviously purpose, creating a massive contribution. But I see sometimes people, business owners, look to their business as a wealth tool. And unless you plan to kind of like exit or sell out, it's something you use to generate cash. But I think you need to divest into other things. What would be some way that people could get started?
Yeah, and I think it really depends where you're at. Usually people are starting their investment, career or path, and they have an abundance of one thing and not the other. So in other words, they have an abundance of time and not money, or they have an abundance of money and not time. Generally, you don't have both of them.
Yeah.
And generally you probably don't have a lack of either of them. But so let's say that someone that has an abundance of time but not an abundance of money, I mean, I really think finding something in real estate probably makes sense. There are a lot of other ways to do it than real estate, but you can use leverage. You can use a bank's money. You can use other people's money. I mean, put it this way. Like when I first started, I was like, oh, I don't have enough money to buy this stuff. So why am I even wasting my time looking at it? But now I know that if I find a good enough deal, I can find the money. Yeah. I mean, people are like ready to hand out money if you have a good deal. I didn't get that then. And so it took me longer to get going than it probably should have, because I had this limiting belief that I couldn't afford to do it.
Big time.
And if you have a lot of money, but not a lot of time, then you want to find things that aren't going to require your money and just find, opportunities that are going to protect the principal investment, but give you some returns. So that could also be in investments. That could be, real estate, private real estate syndications, which I think is a great opportunity, because you can still get some of the depreciation that passes through to the investor level. But I think it could be in some other areas. I mentioned franchises. I think that having, you can invest in software companies. There are a lot of places that you can do that where automation is already there. And so you can buy it for a certain multiple of its EBITDA. And then you can, you can figure out how many years it's going to take you to pay that off. And then it's just profit from there. And it might even cash flow, depending on how you do things and what your other financial situation looks like. You might even get cash flow from it.
Yeah.
So there are a lot of different, things to consider. Again, investing in anything. So I look at things like even like these brands that we've been buying. Did these brands at one point in time make someone a billionaire? Yeah. So that's probably not a bad thing to invest in if you have a team in place that can, basically finish what needs to be done, that they have the operational experience to run something the way that it needs to be run.
Yeah, absolutely. And you mentioned an important part too, like mindset, I guess, with all of this. And, I can reflect on from a similar place. It's like, that story I mentioned with Robert Kiyosaki. looking back now, the way that I approach things, the decisions are very different than back then when my life was riddled with limiting beliefs and, a lack of worthiness, I guess, at the core as well of what was possible for me. So, I reckon we'd be on the same page that mindset is the number one most important thing to be working on before investments, before business, before strategy, before anything else, because that's something that once you work on connecting more with who you are, but also cleaning up all those limiting beliefs, it's like you're unstoppable in your ability to move forwards and create the life that you desire.
Yeah. And let me jump on that for a moment. Barry, that's a great point. And one of the things I think was great for me, a tool or an idea that was great for me when I didn't know that I was going to do everything that I'm doing now. Of course that's a dream and I hope that that's the case. But what really gave me peace and comfort was this whole idea of modeling. I could find someone that is doing the thing that I want to do, that's made the mistakes, that I could find out what mistakes did you make so I don't make them. What are the things that you do that work? And so I can basically copycat someone's playbook to a T. And so to me, I took a lot of confidence, and I drew that from knowing that if someone else can do something, and I'm as meticulous as following that playbook as possible, then I can get the same results, or maybe it's even just a fraction of the results, but those results are good, and I can learn from that. And so I took comfort in the fact that I didn't have to show up with all the ideas. It wasn't necessarily my mindset on my own that's doing it. I'm just borrowing someone else's mindset until it becomes mine. I'm borrowing someone else's playbook until I feel like I know it well enough that I could innovate it. But why would I even try to innovate it until I know that I've got down what actually works?
Absolutely. And you've proven that too by what you've done for yourself, but also all the clients you've served as well. So look, if anyone watching this today would like to connect with you or find out more about what you do, what's the easiest way they can find you?
Yeah, so you can go to justindonald.com or you can go to lifestyleinvestor.com, either one. And you can reach out to me that way. And you can also find me on LinkedIn or Facebook under Justin Donald.
Outstanding. And Rafi will put a link below as well to make it super easy for everyone watching. And look, if you would like, people watching this would like a meticulous plan to essentially build a business that works without you, click on the link we put down there below for the Freedom Series. Stay up to date with all the amazing guests we've got coming on board over the next few weeks and lead up to the launch, like Justin here. But equally too, like this is 18 years of business experience, growing companies, in the last 9 years, helping thousands of clients around the world do the same thing as well. And as you said, like, for the sake of $30 or something, you get 18 years worth of failures and mistakes and hundreds of thousands of dollars invested into education and knowledge, plus the successes in one book. And I think that's the beautiful thing we've got is we can find people that have got the results we want, download their blueprint, download their belief systems. And that's what I love so much about these live streams as well, is that I get to ask amazing questions or great questions to amazing people that allows me to kind of understand how you see the world and how you show up in the world, see where there's similarities, but also see where there's gaps and where I can improve and grow as well.
Yeah, without a doubt. I think it's awesome.
Yeah. So Justin, I like to always kind of finish up with one question. I'd like to also take the opportunity just to thank everyone who's joined us in this evening from wherever you are. Show us some love by hitting the like button. Also too, like, we'd appreciate if you wanted to start a watch party, share this out to friends and family as well that you think might benefit from understanding some of Justin's core principles and the way that he thinks and believes and operates when it comes to wealth creation. But Justin, like, if you were to have a conversation with a 10-year-old version of you, knowing what you know now, having been through what you've been through, what advice would you give him?
Pay attention to who you're spending time with, because your peer group matters more than you realize. And it's not just about, are you spending time with people that are bad influence? Because for me, that really wasn't the case. But am I spending time with people that force me to grow and stretch my mind and beliefs and capabilities? And for a long time in my life, I had great friends, but I didn't have that mentor. I didn't have those people that really, poured into me and thought about life and business differently than me. And I wish I would have had that earlier, so that my mind could have been expanded at an even younger age.
Absolutely. Gotta love that. Amazing. Thanks for sharing. One last question here snuck in from Carl Burton. Hey, Carl, how you doing, mate? Justin, What do you do to switch off at the end of the day to get your mind off work and investing?
Ooh, that is tricky, and that takes discipline. This one is a habit. So it might start by turning your phone off,
Yeah.
and turning your computer off, and turning. So what I've noticed is with the electronics that can prompt you are just going to be a temptation.
Yes.
So if they're a temptation to you, then you just have to turn them off until they're not a temptation anymore. So that's the first thing. The second thing is planning some things that can be engaging. So maybe it's dinner with friends. Maybe it's a date night with your spouse. Maybe it's, for us, we do family dinner, and that's the first part of like the wind down for me. So I'm engaged. And then, over time you'll learn to be disciplined enough that you're going to train your brain. So the only thing, what's happening is you've trained your brain to optimize. And so you're always looking for, how do I get more done? I want to be efficient. And I think that's so great at a certain point in your life. But if you can train your brain to shut down and have like a regular bedtime and read a book before bed, or have a routine, or have things that preoccupy your mind, and you don't tempt it with whatever might come in on social media, whatever might come in text messages, you're going to be just great.
Yeah, Justin, outstanding answer. Carl, great question. Thank you, everyone who's joined us from wherever in the world today. Appreciate your support. Justin, thanks so much for your time and everything you shared today, mate. I really appreciate it. I would love to know, what was the biggest takeaway? Jump in the chat, let us know. Give Justin some feedback as well. You can find him at justindonald.com or lifestyleinvesting.com.
Lifestyleinvestor.com.
Lifestyleinvestor.com. Mate, thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you. Great to have time with you, Barry. This was fun.
Take care.